Everyone, I
No
think I
problem.
was just talking about Kashif is here, and I don't think he would have ever anticipated something like this level of success. And when I spoke to him, he was still in disbelief. So let me ask him. So do you now trust it, or do you still have like those, or is this real or something like that? Those feelings.
It's still sinking in, Sandeep. Like I still keep going back to my admit letter to see if I've really made it. But yeah, I think I joined a couple of minutes back, and it
Okay.
feels so nostalgic that I was sitting here a few years ago and like listening to you speak this way and putting all these techniques and tips of yours into practice. Yeah, definitely worked out.
All right. So Kashif, why don't you, because this is a session not on academics and GMAT, the first part of this
Yeah,
session. That
yeah.
is. So why don't we start with, first of all, when did you get this thought? Because you applied in round two, I guess, for Harvard.
Yeah,
And when did
yeah.
the thought cross your mind? Did you believe, or did you just want to take a remote outside shot? And then how did you structure your entire written communication, first of all, essays and whatever? I mean, essay, not essays, and then everything that you submitted.
Yeah.
And then eventually, when the invite came, what was it like, and how did you do the interview? So let's really take it in the order. Yeah. Right.
I think it's very personal to me. So I'll probably speak about the process which I followed as well as the learnings which I had during the process. So step one, which I took while starting my application, was the most important one for me was self-reflection. What I mean by that is before you jump into the process, I think you need to answer essential questions. For me, it was like, why do I need an MBA? Why HBS? What will be my goals after MBA? I sat down and reflected back on the activities I did from college to the decisions I made at switching jobs, created like a list of impactful stories, and then created a bunch of stories which I wanted to use in my application. I still remember, I think thanks to Sandeep for introducing me to the case-based method of teaching of HBS. I would highly recommend you all to watch this video if people are not able to make to the school or the campus to go and attend a case study, to watch a YouTube video. You'll get a like different perspective altogether as to what the school is. So that gave me a lot more idea on how can I add value to the class and what can I derive value from the class as well. So building on these stories, I crafted a coherent and authentic story, bringing myself out, not just helped in my essay as well as in my interview as well. So that was the step one. Coming to step two, this was more of a learning. I think trust the process and trust the experts. When it comes to the application specifically, I think I'm pretty much convinced now it's more of an art than a science. And this is where experts like Sandeep kick in. I remember visiting various forums where people would give 100 different opinions. And this just led to a lot more confusion and self-doubt than solve the problem. My suggestion would be to just trust the experts and follow the process, be it even GMAT. I still remember Sandeep putting out this post which spoke about he got an admit into HBS thrice and what is the feedback he received from the adcoms. I think it was around 6 to 7 points which he had mentioned. So I kept that as guiding principles throughout this whole process. And the last step I think I would say is bring out my whole holistic personality. Academics and work is just one side of things. So there is a lot of space which is given in the application of HBS. You have your application questions, you have your essay, you have your letter of recommendation. So there's a lot of place. I tried bringing out my different aspects, not just one aspect of things. Bring out how I grew up as a leader, how I adapted to the startup world, brought out my challenges and weaknesses, how I address them, and how I'm passionate to create an impact, and not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of other things as well. So yeah, broadly, these were the three principles I followed, and that worked out for me. But yeah, if there's
How
anything else, I'll take
important,
it.
yeah, yeah, hi, right. How important is authenticity according to you? Because people will really embrace, this guy said something, so let me write that also. This guy said something. How important is it that it resonates with me and I'll put it out
Mm-hmm.
there? I'm not really worried too much about what others will think about it because this is me. If I really
Mm.
fake, in that case, anyway, I'm not presenting the true self. Later on, somewhere or the other, I'll have some sort of dissonance. Even if I reach there, I mean, so how important is authenticity in presentation of your views and your?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one reason why it's very important is the HBS interview itself, right? It's very different from majority of the schools, the way they interview. Majority of the schools go by blind interview, which is the interview just has your resume, doesn't know your story. So they ask based on the resume. But an HBS interview, the interviewer spends a lot of time in your entire application. They dedicate time, they list down questions, and there is just a 30-minute session. In that 30 minutes, I was asked close to 32 questions. So if I was probably not myself, I was not reflecting my authentic self there, I'm very sure I would have been caught over there. So the level of questions is, there's a level 1 question, it goes to level 2 and level 3. They try to put you at ease, but they definitely know what they're looking for. Yeah.
Why don't you elaborate on this level 1, level 2 with some examples, okay, with your startup, with your leadership, with, exactly what you did, what type of question, what research had they done about you?
Definitely. I'll go into 1 or 2 specifics for sure. I think coming to my goals, since I've worked in a financial services space, my long-term goal was to do something around that. And what happened, as a matter of fact, was the interviewer asked me, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? That was the first question. Second question was, how big of an impact that is going to create? What does the industry landscape look like now versus how it will look like 10 years later? So that requires like a lot of depth. If you do not understand, you can't speak all those. And the third level question was around, okay, this is an Indian perspective. Tell me how the global world is seeing this problem. What are they trying to do around it? So yeah, this is just one example. And if you do not have context, it's very easy to like move around in different directions.
So how did you structure this? Because it can actually go all over the place. So were you very prepared for something like this? Did you structure? Because you are so hands-on anyway, you can talk any moment. Is it like that for you?
I think this is a great question, Sandeep. I think you were mentioning about structured thinking sometime back when I joined itself. So yeah, given that I mentioned 30 minutes, 32 questions, so you do not have much time to speak about. Even though I have like hands-on experience, I can go on for length, but that's not going to help the person out there. And then there is a second problem to this. Second problem is basically, if I over-rehearse, I'm going to sound like a robot than being myself, which is not what HBS is looking for, given the case-based method. So again, self-reflection is going to help you to understand what you need, why you need, and what you've done. Second is using some basic frameworks like the STAR framework, which helps you put into structure. Just giving some context, STAR stands for situation, task, the action, and result. So keeping this very concise, crisp, and while putting across your point was super helpful. And yeah, that's how it worked out.
All right. And I just want to know that when you, let's say, had you read my essays also, you said, or it was only the LinkedIn post? So if there was some value from there and what value they can derive in terms of qualitative aspects, obviously it is purely qualitative there, but just wanted to know that as well.
Yeah, I think from your essays too, Sandeep, I think the same things come out. Again, being yourself, being authentic, trying to show impact, being rebellious, but obviously in a positive way. How you've questioned the status quo, what change are you trying to bring? This is just one aspect. And third is, how are you trying to create an impact in the society which is around you? Doesn't have to be like outlandish stuff, right? Okay, I change the world, I'm trying to change the world. But what am I doing about the problems I'm seeing around me? I think these were 5-6 tips which I carried forward and implemented and helped me out.
Another, let's say, when you wrote the essay, and did you have something in mind that I've anyway talked about it? My recommenders might talk about this. So what is left out? Is this how you decided that resume anyway talks about this? Those extra details anyway talk about this. So what did you choose to write, and how did you decide that this? And then what did you write actually? So just if you can.
Yeah, I think that was sure. That was the most difficult part, because I think most of the things get covered in your application. So another tip would be to just start the application form, answer all those questions, finish your resume, and then you'll know what is left out. But that left out thing will not be good enough for the question. Just to give context to the audience, the essay question is, now that we are reviewing your application, is there anything else you would like us to know about you? And this is 900 words, and you would have finished the entire story altogether, or your recommenders have already covered some other aspect. So for me personally, what I did was, again, the self-reflection exercise. I tried to find a pattern from my childhood, my school, my college, and workplace. What has worked the best for me? Who am I as a person? So 3 things came out, to be frank. I think one, because I'm a first-gen student, I think being a self-starter had like a crazy impact on me from childhood itself. And that kept me going throughout my journey. Second is the resilience, because I come from a startup ecosystem. I was put into situations which I was not comfortable in, or I do not have the expertise. So that continuous learning approach is something which helped me growing. And third, how I've evolved as a leader through these experiences. Though I've had my downfalls, how I've bounced back. So I think these three aspects I tried to cover and stitch this story, and then linked it to how I'm going to be as a long-term leader. So yeah, that's what worked out.
And they always say leadership is at the heart of Harvard, and as you must have heard it so many times.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
what do you mean by that? Let's say somebody's thinking about applying and they have
Mhm.
regular work experience. They don't even think of themselves as leaders, etc. So, how to showcase and what do they mean by it? What is your take on this leadership word?
Sure. Again, I think leadership, I think a lot of people confuse in India. It's like managing people, and that's how what leadership means. And then you lead big teams. That's not what is true. I think in any role, any particular role where, let's talk about work first, and then I'll go to the other part. In employment terms, whatever role is given to you, how have you gone above and beyond from your roles and responsibilities, right? How do you think differently? How are you trying to convince your upper management? How do you address a problem? Are you questioning things from scratch? Are you trying to bring across a problem which no one else is seeing? I think those are the traits and early signals which HBS is trying to see. At least that's what I believe. And coming to the same part in your personal life as well. Are you standing up for what you believe in? Are you doing things because you believe in certain things, right? I see a lot of people do extracurriculars because they want to fill in the extracurriculars page, even though they do not believe in that cause. Personally, I did not have those, but I did have certain small incidences at work or at home where I took a stand, and what I believed in, I brought that out, and that felt more authentic, and that showed the trait. So I think I'll pass on that feedback as well to everyone.
So you did not tailor make anything, frankly, for any school. I mean, particularly for this, no tailor making, no.
Genuinely, no. I
That's
think I ended up mentioning my employment gaps to addressing. Just wanted to put out everything out there as genuine as
right.
possible.
I mean, that's crazy. And what tips would you have? Let's say somebody's thinking, I mean, we've been through a bit of it, but still, what tips would you have for future applicants? According to you, what worked out?
Yeah, I think I mentioned in my first question, right? I think
Right.
one, definitely self-reflection. Do not try to tailor make things based on what you see on the website telling, okay, this is what HBS looks for, analytical mind, leadership quality. Do not try to get into that zone. Just try to put your own self, try to bring out those one or two stories which are very impactful, where you feel you've stood up as a leader or you've like changed things.
I think
Try building.
standing up for something is so important. That is like I
Yeah,
did
it's
stand and I was, even if it meant being a rebel to the whole world, I'm fine with that.
yes.
But I
Yeah,
was trying to change something that I didn't feel was appropriate. Like that is
yeah, yeah. So I
so.
think I had a couple of stories where I failed too. When I stood up, I failed. I think those questions also got asked. So it's not like they're looking for, okay, you made a big impact, you changed 100 people's life. That's not the thing. But at least are you standing up and you're making an effort? So that's what counts as well. So yeah, I think bringing out yourself again. Third, like I said, trust the process. Do not get confused. There are a lot of resources out there to like get confused and like which will bow you down, and you will self doubts, self question yourself. Do not do that. And self selection as well. I think I didn't answer Sandeep's first question. Were you even thinking that you will apply to HBS? I was not even considering, to be frank. I think I applied to the other schools and kept HBS as a dream school, but I didn't want to regret later that I didn't apply, but I happened to get it. So do not self select. Just believe in the process, give it your best. I think the process itself, irrespective of the result, is so reflective that you'll end up finding yourself in the meanwhile. So yeah, irrespective of the outcome, go for it.
Any self-discovery you made that you were startled by about yourself only? Like you said that you might really. So anything that you feel that during this process of 3-4 months of application and reflection and so on, anything that really startled you also that, okay, I did not think so.
Yeah, I think one specific thing is like I didn't know what is the road or pathway after MBA. I just wanted to do an MBA, to be frank.
Mhm.
And then I realized, okay, there are a lot of options available. I felt like, okay, consulting is one thing which I want to get into.
Mhm.
But then as I started exploring, started going through the website, interacting with students, networking events which happened, I figured out there are like 20 other what do you say, lanes open for me, which I can actually go down there and consider. I think in HBS again values entrepreneurship a lot. I was seeing like a good chunk of people start up right after the second year. So yeah, those things opened my perspective. I was looking like, okay, let me not go with a fixed mindset. I can still have an open mindset and consider things.
The clubs,
Yeah, that's one thing.
that those clubs
Yeah,
give you the opportunity, and you not even
yes,
exposed to those that okay, these could be the dimensions to even think.
yes.
I mean, so 3-4 things, as I've been saying always, that be authentic, never tailor make, and really dig deeper. Level 3 questions can get
Yeah,
very difficult to answer. I mean, if you don't have,
yes,
and if
yes.
you work in an industry, know everything about it, and be ready to answer, and always think global as well, not just local. I guess that came in.
Yeah, yes. I
Superb,
think that was
and
a big thing.
yeah, that I never thought that this would be the case normally with any other school. Any other school, we
Yeah,
don't hear this. It's like describe your work. They go more down rather than like
goodie.
full context. Yeah, right.
I was asked a question. The first question was around, I remember, did you go to work today? So, yes, I was at work. What was the problem you solved? Tell me about the day today. So, I mean, you have to be a lot more structured. You can't start by I woke up, I went to the work, and then you start that day. So, yeah, pretty good.
And were you a structured thinker, or this made you like a very precise, structured person? Like, I need to answer only this much space is there, this much time is there. So, were you a structured thinker? I think you should have been to some extent, because if you're
To some
already
extent, to some extent. To
right.
some extent, to be frank, Sandeep, I think even the application itself, it makes you think in a structured way. I think every question is given just limited words. So describe your roles and responsibilities, and you're just given like 80 characters or 100 characters. It's very difficult to do that, right? You can write lengths, but you have to bring out the best part. So it made me more structured, definitely. Even while answering questions, like I said, 32 questions, 30 minutes. You can't go on for long.
Crazy. That's really crazy. 32. And how to
Yeah.
keep the count by the that 32
So
questions?
yeah, again, the interesting part, I think not many people again know, because most of you will be still doing GMAT and GRE right now, is HBS has another unique part to an interview, which is known as the post-interview reflection. So once the interview is done, you are also supposed to give a brief about how the interview went and what resonated with you during this interview, right? And it's very important that while you're answering these questions, you keep a track of what the conversation went like, what were the questions asked, did I answer well, can I address something. Yeah, so that was an important part, and that's why I remembered these questions, and right after the interview was done, I had to address it. So
Rating 32 questions. That means it has to. And some of the questions, did you have to say, like, I do not know or something? Was there anything around knowledge, or is it all about you mostly? I mean, like something that
yeah,
they.
it was about
Mhm.
Sure. No, it was about me mostly and the work, but there were definite curveballs, and I think research helped there. So, like, just to give you an example, again, work is financial services, and my post MBA goals, I'm talking about financial services again. So, I think the immediate question came to the fact that which class are you looking forward to attend, right? So,
Mhm.
this just turns like a curveball, and if you do not know, if you have not done your research, you are
Oh,
definitely going
yeah.
to tell very basic questions, very basic answers like negotiations class, and that's not how it gets linked. So
Absolutely.
I
The
had done
extra
some
classes.
research and then linked it.
Super.
Sorry.
And the extra
Yeah.
classes that they meant, or probably the stuff that you do in second year sometimes. And the
Yeah. So they wanted you to go through the elective courses or
Mhm.
understand what courses are
Yeah, you
available.
should have done
Yes.
very thorough research. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so happy, Kashif, this happened, and let it sink in. First of all, I thought it would have, but it will stay with you.
Yeah.
And now you're part of the most elite, quote unquote, community on the planet. And 2 years later, you will have at hbs.edu. Maybe not during the course, but sometimes they give it
Sure.
alum status. Keep in touch.
Yeah.
I couldn't be
Definitely, Sandeep.
for your success. It's so amazing to hear this. Right.
Thanks a
See
lot. Thanks a lot,
you.
Sandeep, for your time.
Thank
All the
you.
best, everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.